So now we're up to section 14 on the artist team and the artist collaborators. So we'll be talking about this in more detail, but this is where we're going with this. Who's on the team? Now, the team doesn't necessarily mean the owner. Doesn't mean that you're co-owning this unless you're a band or a quartet or those kind of things. If you're a solo artist, chances are you're going to own and control your own career. That means your own business. Now, if you're in a band, you may own the band, the artist may own the band. However, the band may have an agreement amongst themselves to be co-owners. So obviously they would be part of your team. So there's different teams that you have to consider. The first team is your creative team. Who's on this creative team? Now, if it's just you as a soloist, perhaps you're wearing many hats. If you're in with other collaborators, perhaps you're wearing fewer hats and you're sharing the responsibilities. So on your creative team are the musicians that you're involved with, the songwriter or songwriters, co-writers, if you will, the arrangers, the producers, the engineers, and the session players. So when we think about who are the musicians, so like I say, if you're a solo artist, this musician may be you, and it may be only you. Well, in this business, who are the musicians? Well, obviously, they're the ones who play the instruments. Many times, a vocalist can be considered a musician. All right, so who else is on the team? Well, songwriter. Well, if the artist is a songwriter and only them, that's fine. They're part of their own team, but maybe they should be co-writing. Maybe they are co-writing. Maybe there's multiple writers on the team. Maybe the artist uses other people's songs as a part of their repertoire. And those songs are written by other writers. So obviously, songwriters are a part of the creative team. And what about arrangers? Well, yes, arrangers can actually file copyrights on their arrangement. Well, arrangers sometimes arrange the verse, chorus, or the verse, chorus, bridge, or however the music of the song is arranged in order to do this. They also, many times, add arrangement of parts that are coming in. Maybe there's a horn part. Maybe there's a string part. Maybe there's a background singer that will come in and sing their part to that particular song. So arrangers should be considered as a part of the creative team. And obviously producers, audio producers, music producers. And as we talked about when we were talking about your personnel, we did discuss the two different types of producers, the executive producer and the music producer. Now, if the artist is their own producer, that's fine, but that's a part of the creative team, different hat to wear. So the producer is in charge of the audio recordings of the artist. Typically, a producer will work with and hire an engineer to help them with the production. So that means the engineers are part of the creative team. And as we've mentioned before, there are three different types of engineers: those that do tracking, those that do mixing and editing, and those that do mastering. So they may all be the same person. They may all be separate people. So who's a part of the team? And what about session players? People that come in and play on tracks, but aren't necessarily involved with the artist in any other way. Maybe the session players don't go on tour, but maybe they are on all the recording sessions. As I'd mentioned to you before, if you haven't done this already, go check out the movie The Wrecking Crew as session players in LA. And then Motown used the Funk Brothers as their session players. So that's the creative team. Now the artist should look at their business team. And there's two different categories for this. Those that work directly with the artist and may be a part of the artist's company, and those that are ancillary that maybe run their own company but help the artist. So for example, a manager, if the artist is their own manager, obviously that's a part of their own team. But sometimes a manager is on the artist team as a regular collaborator, looking at the big picture. What about the attorney, the lawyer? Many times the lawyer is actually on retainer and is a part of the team. And obviously the publisher too, because the publisher is working directly with the artist, the songwriter artist, and sometimes the artist is doing their own publishing. So that's part of that business team. And then you can look at the others. There's the agent, and the agent does the booking. Well, typically an agent works for an agency, and the agency will then find gigs for the performing artist. And then you can look at the label. Well, it could be the artist label, or it could be a third-party record label. Certainly a part of the team. And the publicist, who's doing the publicity, who's doing writing the news releases, who's making the phone calls to get interviews lined up. Typically, publicists are third party, and certainly the artist could be this as well, but many times the publicist is their own party. So when we're looking at the business team for the artist, we're going to be really looking at the manager, the lawyer, the publisher, and how they come across. We did look at the manager when we looked at section 4 of the artist development plan, because we had to identify who the manager was. And at that point, the plan was, according to the artist, one of two things. Either they're going to self-manage, or they're going to collaborate with a third-party music manager. As I mentioned to you before, you'd like to have self-management until you get to the point where you can hire a quality music manager, a talent manager, to help you. Okay? And section 8, when we talked about your legal aspects of what's going on with the artist development plan, we talked about a quality music attorney, putting one on retainer to work with you. And many of these attorneys, the quality ones, can open doors for you, just like a good quality manager would be able to do. And certainly the publisher. This is one of the doors that you need open. This was all part in the artist development plan, part 12. So we decided at that point that the artist should be one of two things. The plan was that the artist was going to do either their own publishing, self-publishing, or they're going to be working with a third-party music publisher. That should be identified again in this section of your artist development plan. The others, when we talk about it, the agent is the one who does the booking. It's on the phone all the time trying to get a gig for the artist. And there are 3 different levels of agents. The first level is those that book local, and maybe they book some wineries and some of the local clubs and that kind of thing. And then the next level of an agent is those that book regional. So some of the regional agents will book shows in multiple states. And then you get national agents that handle larger acts and handle the whole world. So you've got 3 different types of agents, and you graduate as an artist through the agencies. So you obviously will start with a local agent to help you get some bookings. The more popular that you become, now it's time to spread your wings and try and develop new markets. Well, that local agent doesn't have the contacts in those markets. So it's time to move on and establish a reputation with a good quality regional agent. And there's quite a few around the country, and some of them handle certain areas, and maybe you'll have multiple agencies working for you depending on your level in the business. And then once you get to the point of working with a national agent, it will become exclusive, and they will want to make sure that you are booking only through them. And I can give the artist a little hint here. If the artist is working with any of these 3 types of agents, and someone were to call the artist and ask them for a gig, The right thing to do is to say, my agent handles all of this. Here's the phone number. Now, you may say, oh, but if I book it myself, I don't have to pay the commission. Yeah, well, you might save 10%, but you might ruin a relationship. So it's better to have the agent know that you made the referral to them, and therefore they know that you are solidly on their team and will work harder for you. I've been an agent many times. I've owned a booking agency as well. I had 9 agents working for me. I know this gig. Okay, a promoter is also part of the team. They promote shows. So promoters look for artists, and they are actually can be part of the team, especially if the promoter is a artist developer as opposed to a saloon keeper. We've talked about the differences between those two in the past. But a promoter, a good promoter, can help the artist, and they can get regular gigs with that promoter. So maybe that promoter is a part of the team, maybe not. But consider that and put it into your artist development plan. The label or a record label, can certainly be a part of the artist team also. Once again, they have different types of labels. They have major labels and they have independent labels. And maybe the artist is producing their own label, vanity label. So it all depends on how this is all working out for the artist and what the plan is. My recommendation is that the artist form their own label, put out their own product, control their own destiny with their own recordings, and then as they grow and become more established in the industry, now maybe they can reach out to a bigger label to do some of the work that the artist was doing, because the artist is going to be too busy doing other things. Just some suggestions. The publicist, certainly a part of this. You're going to be defining the publicist when you get into product development, which is booking and recordings and licensing and merchandising. And the publicist is certainly going to be a part of the team in one way or the other. Okay, so let's talk about team building. This would be attracting other collaborators or getting referrals or doing some sourcing. And unfortunately, yes, letting some people go through firing. How do you attract collaborators? Well, obviously, if you're putting out top quality stuff, there's going to be people knocking on your door to want to collaborate with you. Co-writers, musicians, producers, record labels, promoters, talent buyers will all try and come to you and want to work with you because you have something of quality that they think they can make some money from. If they don't think they're going to make any money, they're not going to want to collaborate with you. So really, the whole deal is how much they think they're going to make in order to want to collaborate with you in the first place. If there is no money, there is no collaboration. Keep that in mind. And what about referrals? Well, certainly referrals are good. This is where it comes to networking and relationships. This business is built on networking and relationships. When you're about to do a new project, are you going to call somebody you don't know or never heard of? No, you're going to try and find someone that's done it that you know that can help you. And if they don't, you will trust their referral saying, you know, I can't do that, but perhaps I know someone who will do a really good job for you. That referral is a lot stronger than you going to Google and trying to find somebody in the area who can help you on that project. You don't know them. It's very difficult. So referrals is very important. And sourcing. Yes, sourcing is certainly a possibility as well. So if you're doing a festival and you need to provide sound and lights, you can source that job out to a third-party production company. Or if you're going to go on tour and you need a bus, you can source that out to a tour bus company. So there's ways that you can create your art and succeed with your art by using sources that are not interior, not part of your close team. but those that will help you for fees. And then obviously firing. Now this is tough. How do you fire a friend? And remember, you're only as strong as your weakest link. So when we start talking about your personnel and who's on the team, you want to make sure that you have an agreement with them. And so if you have a reason for firing them, it's because they broke the agreement. That's one of the reasons you need to have an agreement in place. But I can tell you, it's very difficult firing a friend. I've done it a few times. It's just not fun. Many times you lose a friendship. But what's more important, your friendship or your career? This is for you to decide. I don't know. Okay, so artist development plan, part 14, your team and collaborators. I'd like you to identify your current team. Put them all down on a list of some sort. And then underneath that, put the plan for building and maintaining the team for the artist is, and tell me what the plan is. Once again, don't tell me how to, just tell me what your plan is.